I grew up in the former Soviet Union, in the city called Chelyabinsk. Now, it's a large city, but I felt that there were like 4 Jews in there. Mom, dad, my brother, and I. So I didn't have a lot of character example in front of me. But I still had a general idea about my Jewish culture and identity. Among other things, it included anti-Semitism and persecution, kids who love 2 things the most, to study and chicken soup, and moms who either quell about their exceptional kids or kvetch about everything else. Happiness just wasn't a part of it. But I already knew from the Russian classical literature that life is this endless misery, an unescapable sorrow. So that was just fine with me. I came to the United States when I was 19. And I kept hearing American Jews say things like, Jews are not supposed to be happy. And then I watched some Woody Allen movies. And I realized that our identity is pretty much the same everywhere. We believe that our culture is predominantly sad and guilt-ridden. But there is so much more. Now I have 2 daughters. One of them wants to be an astronaut. But I don't know about that, because let's face it, it's hard enough to meet nice Jewish boys here on Earth. The other wants to be a princess. Now, she got me on board right away when she promised to make me the queen. As I contemplated their futures, I had to acknowledge that life is hard. They are going to face challenges and difficulties. And I wanted so much to give them something, like a spacesuit or a magic wand that will keep them safe in any circumstances. I wanted to teach them skills that will help them thrive in life, and not just math and science. So to me, these are happiness skills. So I found myself in need of sources on happiness, and I decided to still give my culture a chance. I ruled out Woody Allen movies right away, and I started looking. There was a lot on tragedies and suffering. But there were also many traditions on happiness and joy. And not just general talk, but specific guidelines on how to be happy. The more I learned, the more I realized that happiness should be a part of our identity. Maybe even up there with the chicken soup. Our heritage includes many elements that help us achieve happiness the Jewish way. I find that some of the most effective are moderation, sanctification, and appreciation. Moderation is self-discipline that helps us keep from shortages or excesses in our emotions, desires, and actions. Judaism prescribes this happy medium, moderation, in every aspect of life. For starters, it teaches us that humans are godlike because we have the free will. We can do whatever we want. But it limits our behavior with a set of rules, commandments. Moderation leads to contentment, satisfaction with what is. Contentment is the root of happiness. Its most important attribute, because how can we be happy if we're not satisfied with what we have, who we have around us, and who we are? And I think that it's especially important to practice and teach contentment and moderation in our culture that encourages the exact opposite, to get bigger, better, more. Some people don't even like this word, contentment. It sounds too boring. We want our happiness also to be bigger, better, more, not to be content. But Judaism constantly brings us back to it. 3 times a day we say, Ashrei yoshvei beitacha, happy are they who sit in your house. Simply sit. A famous 12th century scholar, Maimonides, also taught to keep to the middle path in all qualities known to man, without veering to any extreme. He called it Kaf HaEmtza. Later, the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism, compared our soul-driven bodies to a horse-driven carriage. If we pull the reins in too tight, then we impede the movement and we will not get where we want to go. But if we let the reins go completely, we will go whichever way without any direction and not arrive to our destination either. So the only way to be truly human and truly happy is with physical and spiritual moderation. And so through teaching moderation and contentment to us, Judaism shows that there is nothing missing from our lives to be happy right now. Sanctification means making things holy. With blessings, Judaism lifts up routine events. It imbues them with additional meaning, adds spirituality to the mundane, our daily rituals, every 7th day, getting bad or good news, and just being alive, just arriving to this moment. If we can see holiness in everything, if we acknowledge that the world is alight with godliness, like our sages teach us, then it lifts us up as well. That is such a beautiful tradition. But I'm not observant. Does it mean that I, or people like me, can't make things holy and become happier this way? Yes, we can. If we consider our marriages sacred, our kids a blessing, our jobs a calling, and every day a miracle, then we are sanctifying our lives. If we can see the remarkable within the commonplace, then routine or even random events can become more meaningful and important, and that makes us happier. Appreciation is the 3rd part of this Jewish formula, and this is a sure way to happiness. Appreciation or gratitude doesn't let us stay indifferent or take things for granted when everything is good around us, and it lifts our mood and helps us focus on the positive when not everything is good. Similarly to sanctification, Judaism ritualizes appreciation with prayers and blessings. It literally makes reasons for us to be happy. We wake up, we start with gratitude to live another day with modani, and then we just continue to count our blessings. Every meal, sighting of a rainbow, even using a restroom. Judaism makes us notice and appreciate these things, creating so many opportunities for happiness throughout the day. Now I know what some of you may be thinking. Olga, you just want everybody to be happy just like this? But let me tell you that these skills that I learned from my culture to teach to my kids, moderation, sanctification, appreciation, worked for me in the most difficult of situations. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. First, I just couldn't believe it, and then I felt angry and scared. I was just in such turmoil. How was I supposed to say something like that to my parents? How was I supposed to prepare for a treatment that would make my eyebrows fall off? I was in anguish, but at the same time, I was fiercely, aggressively happy for everything else in my life. Everything else just became brighter and more meaningful and made me happier. When these initial feelings settled down a little, I realized something that was even scarier. By that time, I already had my daughters, and I already done everything that I thought I was supposed to do. What difference would it make for me to live another 70, 80, 90 years? What is the meaning of my life? I had to understand that. A lot of things that I read or heard that were referred to as the meaning of life didn't feel very meaningful to me, because I believe that a person can live a meaningful life even if they didn't have certain achievements, or children, or affected the change in the world. So as I was eliminating this and some other answers to this eternal question, only happiness was left. So for me, this is the meaning of life, to live happily. And it's not as shallow as it may sound, because to do that, we do need to be content with our families, ourselves, our life paths. We can't just go through the motions mindlessly. We have to be present and grateful for every moment to enjoy life. And I believe that all our achievements and efforts for self-improvement are just stepping stones to this ultimate goal. Sometime later, when I was doing research for my book, I came across a short list of questions that our sages believe we have to answer for when we get to heaven. So now this is what our lives boil down to. And let me tell you, they're not about the things that we spend so much energy and time chasing here. It's not how much money do you have in your bank account or how many degrees and titles you've earned. It's this. Our sages teach that God will hold us accountable for not enjoying life. At the end of our days, God will ask, "Did you enjoy my world?" Do we? Think about it. God wants us to be happy. So let me tell you, it made me feel really good that my own personal opinion coincided with mission given to us by God. You know, when I was living in Chelyabinsk, I kind of knew that there is no way to live a life without suffering. Thank you for that again, Russian classical literature. And I was pleasantly surprised that Judaism, this religion, this philosophy, this way of life, provides a path to happiness. That it's not all about dealing with challenges or God's wrath or atoning for our misdeeds, but that there is a very clear, if we look for it, guidance to enjoy and be happy. And we can make this choice. I certainly hope that my astronaut and my princess make this choice. And I hope that we will reclaim the happy side of our heritage and will make it an important part of our identity and our lives. Thank you.